Mabuhay and welcome to Power Talks. Today we're having a fascinating conversation with a true force in Philippine fashion, Rajo Laurel. Get ready for a glimpse behind the scenes of his creative world. Was it a struggle in the beginning? Would you describe your early days?
I believe that hard work and struggle and pain is good for the soul. Pag ang tao ay masaya, kahit anong mangyari, magiging successful siya. I knew at the age of 11, I was going to be a fashion designer. It's very important to have those things because studying fashion is very theoretical, but living fashion is very ideal. It's the ideal setup because I studied in New York. Hindi nakakahiya ang magiging fashion designer. Hindi nakakahiya maging bakla.
Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us today. We know you're very busy.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for welcoming us into the House of Laurel.
Yes, welcome to the House of Laurel.
So pretty. How long has the House of Laurel been around?
We've been around since 1993. The business has started since 1993. Here in Poblacion, we've been pioneers in Poblacion, so we've been here for 26 years.
So you were here even before Poblacion became known for what it is known now. So you started the art scene in Poblacion.
It was always been Poblacion. We were here because it was sort of like in the center of Makati. During then, the properties were still more affordable. This place was actually called Backwell because this was behind Backwell. And but now it's sort of like having this wonderful renaissance, which is Poblacion now.
Is this like everything that you had envisioned it to be from the start, or how has it evolved?
You know, not really. I'm a very practical person, and the reason why we invested in Poblacion primarily because it was easy for my clients to come and also easy for my employees to get to work. It's easy because there's a lot of public transportations, and essentially my clients are in general Makati area. But the beauty of Poblacion is, I feel like it's like the old Malate, wherein it has this sort of like wonderful personality within the context of the city because there's the height restrictions from the building. So you still feel that it's still one of the places where you can actually walk around and feel what Manila and Makati feels truly like.
It's very vibrant. I mean, just around the street,
coming
in. But also coming in, when I stepped in, you know, with all the colors and then the ambiance here with all the sparkles and the you know, the furniture, everything, it just felt so vibrant. And I wonder what kind of feeling you have every time you come in here, because this is actually like the realization of all your dreams, is it not?
It's a beautiful question. That's why we call it House of Laurel, because we welcome you into our home. I work with my family. My mom is our controller, my sister's my general manager, my other sister's head of marketing, my brother is a head of accounting. We called it the House of Laurel because it truly is a House of Laurel. In fact, if you go around this particular building, we all have our own rooms. My sister has her place. My mom also has her little office. So we all have our little spaces, and because we all play different roles in the organization. So it's almost like coming to our house. But because we changed the feeling, so this place is like a laboratory. So if you come back, let's say in 2 weeks when we launch a summer collection, it will look entirely different. We always try to move things around because we're a destination place. It's a very unique experience, primarily because when the clients come, we want them to make them feel that it's a brand new experience every time we create a collection.
And so that they want to keep coming back.
That's the hope, that they come back.
You mentioned that you work with your family, with your mom and your siblings. They were very supportive of your dreams from the get-go?
You know, I'm very fortunate because when I needed help, they really stepped up. And in many ways, I'm very blessed because I feel that they gave up some of their own dreams in the pursuit of mine. So I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm very well supported, I'm very well cared for, and I'm able to truly just concentrate on creating. So I have a very good foundation of people to support me in terms of making this happen. It's very rare, but I'm very blessed that they understood what I wanted to achieve, and they happily gave up their own personal desires in order to make mine true and real.
I saw one of the TED Talks that you had given, the one you did for Ateneo. It was so interesting to learn that you were describing how pivotal also your siblings were in helping you figure out that this is the career path that you wanted to pursue.
Of
Because
course.
from the time that you were still playing and you had a fondness for your sister's dolls.
Yes, I mean, well, I think in the beginning she really hated me because I would
Because you would take the dolls.
I would take the dolls out at night and return it. And when she woke up, she was crying because I chopped the hair. During that time, it was sort of like the era of punk and new wave. So she woke up with her dolls with mohawks and eyeliner. But my sister and I really worked together. Venice is really almost like the wind beneath my wings. She's my right hand in everything and really my partner in making this happen. I don't think my growth, and I don't think I'll be able to truly fulfill most of my ambitions without the help of my family.
Are you the oldest sibling?
By age. By attitude, no.
So by attitude, the youngest actually.
Yeah. Pero I am the eldest. I am the kuya, pero I don't act like one. Yung sumunod sa amin, yun yung parang talagang ate. I mean, I'm the eldest, and then I have a brother, John, and then I have two sisters, Venice and Angela.
Okay. And are you the only artistic one in the family?
Oh,
I mean,
no.
do they also have
Not
artistic
at all, not at all.
inclinations?
My sister Jella is actually a very good makeup artist, Jella Laurel. My brother John is actually a interior designer and contractor. Unfortunately, it's my sister who's next to me. Hindi siya nabigyan ng grasya ng pagka-sining, pero magaling naman siya sa ibang mga bahagi. So she has the other talents.
Okay. Going back to your early years, your childhood, when you would, play with your sister's dolls and decide to dress them up. I remember you saying that that's when you first thought that, or first realized that you wanted to be a fashion designer.
Yes, actually, that was one of the parang aha moments that I'd like to become a designer because I was very unhappy with the clothes of the dolls that they were buying. I found it's a little cheesy and it was a little sort of like demode. And now it's different, but during then, when you would buy dolls, parang baduy-baduy ng mga puro pink, puro pastel. So essentially, I said, maybe this is my calling.
So how would you dress up the dolls? May mga retaso ba kayo sa bahay?
Well, I would sort of like go to my mother's closets and see what she wasn't using, and I would really, sew it.
So you would cut it up?
I would cut it up. And
With permission?
Well, no, because no. So I would really be punished when she finds out that all of a sudden, pag tingin niya, may butas na yung blusa niya. But yeah, I mean, I was a very rambunctious and naughty child, creative, but because I was hiding, it was not something that is usually done by little boys. So I usually sort of like kept that from everyone.
But what was your inspiration for their clothes? Would it be stuff you see on TV?
I remember it vividly, punk and new wave. I literally sort of like made little sort of like dresses from safety pins, and everything was sort of like black and goth and dark.
I remember also you saying that you had to be very resourceful as a child. Like, I found that cat story so cute that because
Oh my God.
you
It was
wanted
my
to buy
mother
your
who
own dolls.
my mother who actually reminded me. My mother said I was very entrepreneurial already.
At a young age.
Because I was the kind of person, to this very day, pag gusto ko, hahanap ako ng paraan para makamit ko. I wanted to buy a black Barbie doll because it was on sale. Siya yung pinakamura eh. Her name was Cindy. Walang bumibili kay Cindy. Naalala ko yung National Bookstore. I think it was probably 65 pesos or basta under 100 pesos. Eh, syempre, I was grade 3, grade 4. Wala mo naman pera. No? May allowance, pero kulang. So, meron stray cats sa village namin. So, kinuha ko, pinaluguan ko, niligyan ko ng ribbon, pinulbusan ko, binenta ko sa mga classmate ko. Yun, by the end of the week, meron na akong pera pambili ng CD. But I didn't tell anybody, but I actually hid it, syempre. Who a 9-year-old would go to National Bookstore to buy a Barbie doll. So tinago ko yun. But that was very special. But of course, my mom found out about it because I think one of the classmates' mother called my
And said,
mother.
"Bumili siya ng pusa."
Bumili siya ng pusa.
So was she
Meron
proud?
pa ba?
Wow, naghahanap pa. So was there a sense of pride na, maabilidad tong anak ko?
Bear in mind that I was asthmatic and I'm allergic to cats.
Oh no. So you parang made that sacrifice.
Can you imagine the kind of situation? And that's what my mom nga said, that parang, why are you playing with cats? It gives you asthma. But because I knew that that's one way to get my Barbie doll, ginawa ko.
And then then, so you also mentioned that at around this age, you were also a stage actor.
No, actually before that. My grandmother kasi founded Repertory Philippines. And, they needed children to perform, syempre, because she's my lola. She said, oh, yan, maggulong bata, talented. So, I was actually part of the first cast of The King and I of Repertory Philippines with Lea Salonga and Menchu Lauchenko and Raymond Lauchenko and Baby Barredo as Ana and Bernardo as the king. But it was the time when I was 6 years old and I said, oh my God, the power of the costume, the power of clothes. There was a scene in particular that I was asked to run underneath the big skirt of Anna. And I was just sort of like mesmerized because the construction and how that whole skirt was created. I knew then that there was this sort of like really power of clothing in the sense that with one change of a coat, all of a sudden, you're the king of Siam. So it made such a big impression on me, and that actually put the seed towards all the different steps that led me to where I am today.
Oh, well, how very lucky to know at a very early age what it is that you wanted to do. Because not everybody is blessed with that realization.
Because I knew 11. At the age of 11, I was going to be a fashion designer.
Was it difficult trying to convince your parents, your family?
I was caught in a conundrum. I was very lucky that my grandmother and my mother were very supportive. My father wasn't so much supportive, so there was a little bit of a tension, primarily because they couldn't really visualize and see it as a profession. My father was very old school, so as you would probably think that we come from public servants, lawyers and businessmen. And I think my father was just worried that I wouldn't be able to take care of myself. However, because of the support of the women in my family, it really changed the whole dynamics of the situation. And ultimately, when my grandfather actually asked my dad, sabi niya, alalang-alala ko to, pabayaan mo na si Rajo. Dahil dyan siya masaya. At sa palagay ko, pag ang tao ay masaya, kahit anong mangyari, magiging successful siya.
When you had that blessing from your grandfather and...
Oh my goodness, I felt like this little bird that just go, and everything felt like it fell into place.
And so this was when you decided to go to fashion school?
This is when I decided to go to fashion school, and when they gave me the opportunity to do so, and everything just fell into place. Of course, there were drawbacks and hindrances because life does that to you, but I was very resolved in that particular goal of becoming a fashion designer.
Was it a struggle in the beginning? Would you describe your early days?
Of course.
I
I believe that if everything was handed to you so much easily, it's also easily removed. I believe that hard work and struggle and pain is good for the soul. Oh my God, I'm remembering lang kasi what my father told me. I mean, he was very wise, and he would always say to you, to anyone, suffering is good for the soul. And I feel that without those trials and tribulations, I don't think that you wouldn't taste the sweet taste of success. Kailangan yan eh. Kailangan, like with any creatives or with any particular career, you need to have the ability na pinaghirapan mo. Kasi pag hindi mo pinaghirapan, hindi mo talagang pagkakaingatan.
What a profound thing to say. How old were you when he was telling you that?
Oh my goodness, he constantly told us this.
Maliit pa lang kayo, suffering is good for the soul.
Suffering is good for the soul. He constantly told. Oh, only because I guess in hindsight, he didn't want us to sort of like grow up with a sense of privilege. So he was always sort of like holding back in the sense that parang his first reaction was always no. And then we had to defend the rationale why we wanted to do this. And once he was satisfied with that answer, then he would sort of like, okay, let's do it. But in my case, it was very challenging because I was the firstborn child. I was also the first grandson. I was also the first on the family name. So parang, my God, talaga bang, ang tawag niya nun, talaga bang gusto mong maging sastre?
Yun pa yung concept nila.
Yeah, so in many ways, I had to sort of like fight that paradigm shift of a creative being successful. I think they needed to sort of like understand that the power of the creative is actually equal to the power of somebody who's sort of like probably a lawyer or a doctor or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, as I said, to all the parents out there, listen to your children and listen to their happiness, because happiness is probably the most important measure of success. That's for me.
Most people would think na, like I guess what your father was saying, that it's very difficult to find financial success in the creative industry.
Yes.
So what was, you think, the key that helped you, somehow build this into a lucrative business?
Siya rin na naman, my father na naman ng may sagot nun. He said, okay, study fashion, but you also give me a degree. Sabi ko, ano po? Tapos na ako. Parang, yes, give me a college degree. And he goes, of course. I was like, I wanted already to work. I wanted already to design. But my father goes, no, get me a college degree. So I enrolled in De La Salle University. I got a business degree. And because of that business degree, I was able to balance the creative and the commercial. To have a businessman's mind is very important in any line of work, because at the end of the day, this is still a business. And I think the beauty about that particular information is, even if I was struggling, even if I didn't want to do it, it is valued because now I know accounting. Now I know the importance of inventory. Now I know how important it is to create an Excel sheet or even a business plan for that matter. Because I had that particular balance. And I knew this because right while I was in college, I was apprenticing and working for other designers. And I could see what was lacking in their particular establishment and organization, which is a really strong foundation of business. And because of my father's willingness or stubbornness to say, no, hindi pa pwede yung fashion degree mo, bigyan mo pa ako ng business degree. So yun, I did it. And then because of that, I realized, another aha moment, na parang kahit na I hate math, kailangan eh. You have to understand that parang sometimes it is what you don't like will make it easier for you in the future. It's like medicine. You don't really like medicine, but it's good for you. So now that I'm a little bit older, it was those things that parang when you're finishing your thesis and you said, ano ba to? I don't really need this. But my father just said, no, just give me a degree, give me a diploma. And so in hindsight, he was correct.
Who are some of the designers that you worked with early
Oh
on?
my goodness, I was working with Louis Mamengo in Malate. Kasi La Salle was very close to Malate. So nilalakad ko lang in my lunch break, imbis na mag-lunch break ako, nandun ako sa shop nila. Louis Mamengo and Pipito Albert were my mentors. It's very important to have those things because studying fashion is very theoretical, but living fashion is very ideal. It's the ideal setup because I studied in New York. I mean, napakalayo ng New York City sa Taft Avenue. Parang pinagkumpara mo ang Fifth Avenue at saka Taft Avenue. So can you imagine, I was in Fifth Avenue, pagkatapos all of a sudden, nasa Taft Avenue ako. So, although I was sort of like struggling, I knew that parang I still needed to be in the world of fashion. So because Malate was so near, Louis was instrumental in introducing me to the ins and outs of Philippine fashion. I remember taking the jeep to Libertad to buy trims, or taking the jeep to Divisoria. So nadaanan ko yung lahat. So I think what's interesting in my journey was that every single thing of my business, I actually at one point did it myself.
So, parang kumbaga hanggang ngayon, kahit parang lahat ng trabaho na ginagawa ng ibang tao sa House of Laurel, kaya mo pa rin gawin.
Oo. To this day. Kasi you need to know it because that's the only way you can teach it. You cannot teach something that you haven't done. So for us, that's really one of the things. That's why it's very important for me to be able to really use my hands.
When you first started House of Laurel, did you know already that you wanted to do bridal gowns in particular?
Not really. But my business model really was just making clothes. Started off with my grandmother and then my classmates, even in high school. Kasi my grandmother had live-in seamstress eh. Manang Charing and Manang Edith, sila yung gumagawa. Kasi remember, in that time, hindi mo naman nabibili lahat. Before, the curtains were made at home. The kobrekama was made at home. So the hum of the sewing machine was always present in my grandmother's house. And because nga, I was very sort of like close to her, I would actually design her dresses. Lola, wag ganyan, ganito. So I was always already close to making things. So I did that also in high school. My high school classmates will attest to that. Nilalako ko yung services ko na ako yung gagawa ng prom dresses nila.
Ah, talaga?
Yeah,
High
and that
school
which
talaga.
graduated into other things. But the business really grew with the introduction of my sisters because remember, di ko naman nasusuot yung mga damit na ginagawa ko, but I had my sisters to actually fall back on. So they would say, hindi yan maganda. I mean, it's nice sa'yo, pero hindi yan maganda sa akin. So it grew. So when they needed prom dresses, I made them prom dresses. When they needed graduation dresses, they had graduation dresses. Their classmates saw the graduation dresses, nagusto nila. So palaki ng palaki. Nagkaanak sila, I had a children's line. Nabuntis sila, I made the maternity line. So it was just literally, I guess, hustling. When the opportunity is there, you grab it.
Do you still remember who your first bride was?
Yes, of course.
Who was your first bride?
Yvonne Banzon Clement was my very first bride. I was 20 years old. She was the sister-in-law of my cousin, Ate Chiki de Castro.
Okay.
So she's my second cousin, and her sister-in-law was getting married. Said, "Oh, I have a cousin who's starting," and I remember it vividly because I keep on messaging her that one day, if I have an exhibit, I will need to borrow her dress.
Ah, okay. Which I'm sure she has kept and preserved very well.
Because I've been making her kulit. I remember it vividly. I wanted to do a version of a T-shirt, but how a T-shirt can be made into a bridal gown.
Is that what you did for her?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
A striped T-shirt. But
Wow.
instead of the stripes. Remember, uso kasi nun yung parang black and white stripes.
Yes,
Naalala mo yun?
yes.
But I made a version of an evening gown. So the stripes were made into pearls and crystals.
Wow.
So it's like a T-shirt with a big skirt.
Okay. And do you still remember the feeling when you got your first check for a gown that you made?
Yeah, I did. Nilibre ko yung family ko. Kasi mahilig kami sa sa inasal. So I'm not sure, but I remember nagpa-Sunday lunch ako yung toka.
Wow. And so ever since then, the business has grown. You've had so
Yeah.
many brides. And then I saw your post from a few days ago
Oh
that
my God.
there was a girl who wrote to you that you had done her mom's gown and her flower gown.
That was sort of like quite a special email. I mean, it's just wonderful that to this day that you're still able to be part of people's lives. I think the special realization here is that, of course, we're dress designers. Of course, it feels sort of like superficial. But beyond that, there's that connection of community, of feeling, of memories, of emotion. I think that is what really I hold close to my heart. Because at one point, I was part of that. And I touched your heart by making you feel your absolute best. So we treat every project with that kind of reverence and respect. Iba-iba naman yan eh. But that email was heart-tugging. Kasi, she was a flower girl of her mother's wedding. And for them to keep a lot of the files. They kept the wedding file. They kept my letters. They kept the dress on mannequins in their home.
In more than 30 plus years, hindi ka ba sometimes nauubusan ng ideas? I mean, like, di ba, writers have writer's block? Do you
Oo
sometimes
naman.
have...
It happens. But I already have tools in order to sort of like jumpstart I call them the meh moments or the blah moments. But at the end of the day, it's really about going back to why you're doing this, the intentions. And like, we're humans. There will be times when even you probably don't want, you wake up in the morning and you go, parang I'm bored, I'm sad, I don't want to do this. But you remember why you do it because that is what's going to push you. That is going to make you wake up in the morning, come to work, revitalized, energized, and excited because you love what you do. Going back to that, ito ang nagbibigay saya sa akin. Kaya ginagawa ko to araw-araw because it makes me happy.
Can you tell us a little bit about the creative process of Rajo Laurel? Like, does there have to be music playing? Do you have
Yes,
to
music is essential. I cannot think without white noise or music. It's almost like storytelling. I akin it really to storytelling. And the only way I can actually explain it to people, it's like I have these images of recipes in my head, but instead of food, they're clothes.
That's so interesting.
Ingredients are materials, and I have things of the combinations. So parang iniisip. That's the only way how I can explain it. When I look at a person, I basically sort of like say, ano kaya ang gusto nitong kainin? But it's in reverse. Ano kaya ang gusto niyang maging itsura? How does she want to look like? And it's almost a process of elimination. That's for the made-to-order projects. When you come to me, Pia, for instance, I ask a few questions like, where are you going? Where are you using this? What are you most insecure of? And then it adds up. Like in your case, I said that olive green is really wonderful for you.
Thank you.
And as you said, stylist makes it easier for you because you don't have to think. But if you have to think, what would be the color that makes you most happy? Or for instance, what will make you more confident? So I add things up, and it goes into my head, and little images and flavors and tastes come, and then the creating the image goes forward.
And how about the length of time it takes for you to, draw something up? Does it vary? Or?
It's just really a matter of question. For instance, let's say hypothetically says you're going to, let's say, a wedding. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what time is the wedding? Are you playing a role in the wedding? Is the wedding in the morning, in the evening, or at night? So all of these information already brings forth certain parang ideas. And then instantaneously it happens.
In this age of artificial intelligence, and then with because there's Google, there's Pinterest, there's so many images already online. Does it bother you or bug you when a client comes to you with a certain peg, a certain
Not
look?
at all.
You prefer that they have...
Not that I prefer it. It's a way of communicating. It's just a tool. I believe that these are just tools to communicate what you want. And in order to be a successful designer, you have to be able to understand that communication. And I've always believed, I've never shied away from technology. I love technology. I think it's almost like the idea that if you don't use the tools that are given to you, you will not going to move forward. These are just little tools that you need to be able to use, because in my mind, it's a way to thrive. It's almost like the best creatures that ever existed are those who are able to adapt. And that's just one way of adapting.
I'm also wondering lang, how do you protect yourself against, I don't know, for lack of a better term, copyright infringement? I mean, for people who try to imitate your designs.
By all means, please do so. Because I've evolved already, in the beginning I'd be upset, but now go ahead. It's such a beautiful way to be inspired by someone else, because I myself have been inspired by the greatest of the designers. The originality of a concept, of an idea, is how you use it on your own. So we learn by copying. And copying is good because that's how you learn. It's like playing the piano or listening to music. Before you can even create amazing music, you have to listen to the classics, Beethoven, Mozart, Vivaldi. So parang for me, if I'm copied, thank you. Thank you for copying me. That means I'm worthy of being copied. Before, I would get upset. Now, by all means, turuan pa kita. Because that's how you evolve, that's how you grow, and that's how you help people find their voice. Because I'm not afraid anymore. Being copied is another term for admiration. Copyright infringement, ang hirap sa mundo namin. Palitan mo lang yung botones, iba na yan. My resolve is, pag nakopya na ako ng maraming tao, iba na yung ginagawa ko. So by the time that happens, I'm already focused on other things.
What does it mean to you to be a power mover in the fashion industry?
It's a responsibility. I carry on my shoulders the weight of other designers that have come before me. And because of this, I cherish that. I hold that to heart. I hold the responsibility that what we need to do is basically important things, like for instance, ethical treatment of employees, providing proper benefits for our employees, making sure that the people who work for us are actually taken care of. Mahirap ang buhay ngayon. I mean, sa amin din naman tatakbo yan pag may sakit. Sa amin din naman tatakbo yan pag may kailangan. So kailangan namin siguraduhin na okay sila. Okay ang pamilya nila, okay yung mga anak nila. Hindi lang may kakainin or may uuwian. Kung hindi, we're assuring that their future is actually intact. For us, that's very important. For my family, that's very important. That the people who work with us are taken care of.
You mentioned carrying a certain responsibility on your shoulders. And actually, it's not just the responsibility of being a leader in the fashion industry. You're also a known leader of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yes,
and you
yes,
do a
yes.
lot. It's become an advocacy for you.
It's very important to me.
Did you always see yourself as a key figure, a key personality in the LGBTQIA plus movement in the country?
No, not really. I wasn't really a key player, a key movement, but they needed a voice and they needed a face and they needed someone to really sort of like say, that's like me. Like I feel seen when I see Rajo. We need people like me to be able to sort of like push our agenda forward. That we are not, nandiyan kami. Simulat sa Paul, nandito na kami. There's Adam and Eve. But at one point, there's also Steve. You know what I mean? Because I grew up very supported. I had lesbian aunts and I had gay uncles. I grew up in a family wherein, yes, there was tension. Yes, there was sort of like reservations, but it was there. I had examples of strong homosexual men and women who had led beautiful lives, who gave back to the community, who are pillars of the society, of culture, of education, of business. I stand on their shoulders. And I have the responsibility of showing the next generation that it's okay. We will be okay. And being gay is not the end of the world. And I'm glad it's changing from not only to the people around, but the conversation is continuing. They may suppress us, they may even hurt us, but we will never go away. And because I come from that background wherein we need to, I'm not an activist by the way, but we need to stand for our rights. We need to be able to sort of like show the world through our own little ways that our voice should be heard. And we are valid, and we are valued, and we are worthy. These are the things that have to be said always and constantly, not just to us, but to the future generations.
I think just by sharing your story, that's very important. Now, what you mentioned kanina na, pag nakita ka nila na, oh, I'm like that. We're the same, di ba? Parang, it makes it easier for other people to, come out or tell others their story. Did you have to have a whole coming out moment with your family? Or they just understood from the very beginning?
You know what? I thought I did, but I think my mom said, oh, alam ko na, alam ko. I mean, I came out of my mother's womb with jazz hands. But at the end of the day, I did write them a letter. I did tell them that I was gay. And it was so cute because they just looked at me. Oh, and then? I remember I was third year high school in a Catholic retreat. Alam mo yung palangka letters?
Yes,
So I was
yes.
bawling out, telling them I'm gay. And when my mom read it, and she goes like nonchalantly, I know.
Did you feel like a weight was lifted off of you somehow?
Yes, of course. I needed that cathartic moment because everybody should come out on their own terms, and they have that capacity. Because it's sad that there are still a lot of people who are in the closet. And take your time, but do come out when you feel ready, because the light is so much nicer than the darkness.
And you've also actively participated in, several events, campaigns, and you're also part of Drag Race Philippines.
Yes, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, my daughter and I watched the show. We love
You
the
know
show.
that really changed so much lives. Even the perception of drag queens, not only in the Philippines but in the world, that it's an art form. It's now considered an actual source of income. Now they can really sort of like stand on their ground and say, because of Drag Race, maayos ang buhay ng pamilya ko. Masarap na yung kinakain namin. Meron na akong kotse. Meron na kaming apartment. So can you imagine that kind of change that Drag Race Philippines has done for that particular community? That sense of respect, that sense of pride, that I'm able to take care of my family because of the art that I do. which originally kinakahiya. So in many ways, it magnified what I felt like with my own father, making sure that I will be able to take care of myself through that creative field. Because people like us, wala pa naman kasi silang idea na pwedeng mangyari yun eh. Because as I said, we change now from that mindset perhaps of my father saying, gusto mo talaga maging sastre? Now, it's a reverse. I will support you to become a sastre. So the parents are changing the kind of mindset. And this particular program will change the mindset of people who are watching. Because hindi nakakahiya ang pagiging drag queen, hindi nakakahiya ang pagiging fashion designer, hindi nakakahiya maging bakla.
In the show, kasi one of the very important, I think, themes there also is that of mentorship.
I believe in that.
How important do you think mentorship is in any industry?
Oh my goodness, leaps and bounds. It's very simple, similar to sort of like, paano ka makakalakad kung walang magtutulong sa'yo kung paano maglakad? If nobody saw us, if nobody taught us how to walk, we would still be on our crawling. So mentorship and finding your tribe is very important. And seek them out. Because it's not going to happen to you. You have to find them. You have to be open to them. And for every 100 no's, there will always be one yes. And grab that yes. And take it by the reins and run away with it. But find your mentors. I found mine. And I'm very blessed that I found mine.
And now it's your turn to pass it on.
Yeah. And I have. I mean, I've mentored many, many designers. And who are equally successfully today as well.
And so in your 30 years in your fashion journey,
Yes.
Do you sometimes look back and think, at this point, what kind of legacy you'd like to leave behind in the fashion industry?
I'm still thinking about it. I'm still mid-career, so to speak. But I do like to think that I was able to sort of like create a voice because I was in the crossroads of the old and the new. Before I came, we didn't even have internet. When I started my career, we had beepers. We didn't even have a smartphone. But I used these sort of like technologies in terms of making sure that I was up to the times. You know, back when I started, it was fax machine pa lang.
Hindi pwede send lang ng picture ng outfit, di ba?
Kailangan may zzz.
Oo, tsaka totoong appointment.
Oo, totoo appointment. Now, pwedeng telepono, pwedeng Zoom, pwedeng Skype. But the legacy I'd like to leave behind is basically how a person can really adapt and survive and thrive, regardless of how many sticks and stones and painful experiences. Because all of this is just part and parcel of the development of a person. So my story, perhaps, is that because I was resolved in realizing my dreams, that dreams do come true.
When people hear the name, the brand, Rajo Laurel, what do you want them to associate that with? What do you want them to think?
Professionalism, style, elegance, and we always deliver on time.
If you could design a superhero costume for yourself, what would it look like? And what would the special powers of the costume be?
It will be black. It will be one piece. And the special power of the costume is any angle payat ako.
Ay, pwede bang makahingi ng ganun din?
Bebentahan kita niya.
Okay, yes, please. Tapos patent mo na agad.
Oo. Basta any angle ha. Na walang ano.
Side view, back view.
We'll use AI. Pag tinamaan ka, kahit ano mangyari, payat ka.
Most embarrassing fashion faux pas that you have ever experienced?
Oh my goodness. It's actually both me and my partner. That we were in an elevator from the first floor. It was going up to the 75th floor. And it was one of these clubs na mataas. And we were stuck with a not really a friend, an acquaintance. And we both of us, I said, "Oh my God, congratulations!"
Oh no.
And then,
oh no.
and then she wasn't pregnant pala. So can you imagine that 75 floors felt like an eternity? Para kaming, parang nangliliit na kami dahil we assumed she was pregnant. So now to this day, I never, ever ask that question or congratulate anyone.
So how did she tell you na hindi pala siya buntis?
No, I'm not pregnant.
If you were stranded on on an island and you could only bring 3 items from your wardrobe, what would they be?
The first one is swim trunks, because I'm very practical that way. Number two, I would bring a convertible parka that can be a sleeping bag. So I can be a sleeping bag and a coat at the same time, so it'll be warm and I can use it for sleeping. And then lastly, I would probably bring a black t-shirt, because I'm big enough that it can be a tent. I can use it to fish. I will survive.
Pansalo ng buko.
Pangsalo ng buko. So those 3 things, mabubuhay ako.
Okay. What is the most outrageous or unexpected design request that you have ever received from a client?
Oh my God, I remember this vividly. I was starting out and a client went to market in Divisoria and bought flags from different nations. And isang maletang flag, banderitas, banda, and then, ano pong gagawin namin dyan? Gawan mo ako ng damit with using flags. And of course, it turned out quite well. We made the tapestry out of the flags. But it was so interesting that you may stick pa.
Pero may special reason ba kung bakit gusto
Well, type niya lang.
Ah.
Nangamot lang yung ulo ko doon. But my friend is Tessa Valdez.
Oh, she was the one who asked
No,
for
no,
that.
that wasn't her.
Okay.
My friend is Tessa Valdez. So right now, honestly, hindi na ako nagdadalawang isip pa. Walang pantumpig-tumpig pa for any special request because she already topped all the special requests for my life now and my next life in the future. Next time na nga, sabi ko nga, ang susunod na damit mo, yung nakakain na. Sustainable kasi.
If you could design clothing line for a historical figure, who would it be and what would that signature piece be?
Oh my goodness, that's a beautiful question. I would like to design for Maria Clara. Not a historical figure because she was a combination of different women of Jose Rizal's life. But I'd love to be able to sort of like challenge myself into seeing what Maria Clara would look like today. How that particular Filipina icon of a woman would be today.
How about a fashion trend that you wish would make a comeback?
Fashion kasi is very cyclical and I enjoy fashion in all its permutations. And fashion will come back. Right now, you're seeing it. 90s minimalism is back.
Everything from our childhood is
babalik
back.
at babalik yan. So, hintay ka lang. Babalik lahat ng mga trends na gusto mo. If you live long enough, babalik siya.
How about what is the most prized possession in your wardrobe?
Oh, my rings. I collect them, but I bought a ring very early in my career, and I've kept them all my life. I mean, it was one of the first things I bought that was not necessary. Rings are not necessary, but I kept it. They're platinum rings that I love. They're really special to me primarily because it's one of the first few things I bought with my paycheck that wasn't really essential. Siyempre, when you're starting out, essential muna, no? That's it. It was my first splurge.
If you could swap wardrobes with any other designer, who would it be and why?
I just answered that with the journalist also. And I wanted to correct myself because I said Tom Ford.
Okay.
Now I've changed my mind. I would like to have the wardrobe of Yohji Yamamoto.
Because very structural or
Experimental. When you think about it, palagi lang naman kami nakaitim, basic na basic. Pero with Yohji Yamamoto, there are seeds of his genius that are unseen immediately. And the more you see it, the more interesting it becomes. With Yohji Yamamoto, you have to sit and look and wait because the details come out quietly. So perhaps if I could change my mind, it will be the wardrobe of Yohji Yamamoto.
how nice the way you described it. Parang painting, it takes a while to parang really sink in and for you to appreciate it.
Well, because dressmaking is like art.
If you could give your younger self a piece of fashion advice, what would it be?
What piece of advice that I would give my younger self? Diet and exercise more. Because it will hit you. Because you will regret not taking care of your younger self now. I think health is wealth, and I would, ingrain in my younger selves, sana, that habit of taking care of yourself. Not only of your body, but of your mind. That particular habit. So I would like to tell that to my younger self.
Please complete the
time.
sentence. Fashion is...
My life. Fashion is my life.
Well, that's very aptly said. It's been 30 years that House of Laurel has been around, and
Actually, you know what? I'd love to outlive my brand, and that's really my goal. There are very few houses that have survived, because normally when the designer dies, the house dies itself. My dream is that I will outlive my brand.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Pia Arcangel.
Mr. Rajo Laurel. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and download Power Talks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.